Obviously, stating the obvious, our students today are different from students of 10 years ago. They work and think in a different way than what perhaps we are used to, being of the older generation. I'm sure you've heard of the idea of digital immigrants and digital natives. The students of today are born into technology. My 11-year-old was playing on an iPad when she was 5. She could switch things on and off, where the older generation seems to be immigrants into this, where they're not quite with the idea of using technology. And this is something that we're trying to challenge at our institution, is that more integration of digital technology into the curriculum, so that our students aren't bored, that they have something that they can relate to, that it's not just the lecture method of teaching all the time. All right, so when we speak about digital literacies, we are not just speaking about the use of technology in the lecture room. We are speaking about knowledge, skills, and behaviors across a broad range of digital devices, which include smartphones, tablets, laptops, and PCs, and the idea of using a network rather than just standalone computers. Having knowledge of all of this is what's important. So it's that the knowledge, the skills, and the behaviors, but it is also, it comes down to that academic literacy almost, where you have to have the ability to find, evaluate, utilize, share, and create content using the information technologies and the internet. So when we start talking about critical thinking skills, it is important that we look at what we are trying to teach the students in terms of digital literacy. So it's not only about the use of the digital technologies. It is also about creating content and about the ability to evaluate and critically integrate that content into the curriculum. So when we talk about creating content, we're talking about what the lecturers create and what the students create. Because it's one thing for you to create the content, it's another thing to flip the classroom and have them create the content. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So digital literacy also has elements that fall outside of the usual academic realm. So you have your functional skills, you have your critical thinking and evaluation, you have your communication and collaboration, and the ability to find information. But there are aspects that also need to be taught to the students. Things like cultural and social understanding. Each technology that is incorporated into your curriculum has a specific set of rules and etiquettes that need to be followed. And that idea of internet etiquette needs to be taught. And with that, hand in hand, comes the idea of e-safety. The idea of not just putting your identity out there or just giving the information away for free and being careful. You would think that it would be something that needs to be taught to school children. It does, but it also needs to be taught to our students, especially when they're dealing with academic content and things that could be misconstrued, perhaps. So digital literacy is just so much more than just creation of content and the skills that you need to do that and the use of the technology. It becomes a layered exercise. When I discuss the blogging, I'll explain to you what I did with my students in terms of cultural and social understanding and safety. All right, Daniela actually sent me this infographic this morning, so I just put it into the PowerPoint because I think it shows brilliantly every aspect of digital literacy that needs to be considered. So you have in the green block there, you have the digital literacy aspects that we've spoken about. The academic idea of critical thinking, but then the content creation and the computational thinking. But it goes so much further than that because you also have to have, as I said, the safety and the security aspects that need to be addressed. There are rights. You have rights when you are using technology or online. There are certain things in terms of the use of it and the emotional intelligence, the idea of not acting out, the idea of being sensitive. But I think the thing that we need to tap into lies in the digital identity of our students. They talk about you know, the idea of being a digital citizen, the idea of you having a digital footprint. So, you know, everybody has Facebook accounts these days. That is part of your digital footprint. And the more social media that's added to that, the bigger your footprint becomes. And the more followers you have, you know, it becomes this whole digital identity. And, you know, I work in the education faculty, so I try to sort of stress to our students that they are future teachers. So their digital identity is extremely important because they can be judged on it. Potential job applications can be thwarted because of it. You know, things like that. We look at how they want to project themselves, and we do it particularly through the blogging and the digital story exercises about their personal identity through a digital identity. Right, and as I said, we spoke about the digital citizenship idea. So you've got the literacy, the safety, the etiquette, but most importantly, it comes back to the fact that we're an academic institution. We are trying to instill academic skills, academic critical thinking, and so it's the learning strategies that are involved with all of this that is just as important as the creation of the digital story or the blog. Okay, now I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the 3 technologies that I'm going to be talking about today. Digital stories, basically, if you want to take it at its most fundamental level, is a combination of narrative with digital media. So it's the creation of a short video clip where a student uses their own photographs or their own images or free images that are found on the internet using the Creative Commons route, which is another discussion for another time, and putting this together to tell a story. A typical digital story will be created by a single author, will not be longer than 2 to 3 minutes, and will consist of no more than 15 still images, and the narrative should not be longer than 250 to 300 words. So it's short and sweet. It's a story that they tell, and that's the end of the story. I'm going to explain to you how I've done it and how I link it with autobiographical learning, where the content is linked with their story, so that they take something away with that. But yeah, this is still just the overview. Digital storytelling can be used to tell a story related to the academic content that they are learning, or it could be used as a critical reflection on academic work. Or as Daniela explained just now, it can be used to teach other people things by creating short clips, little videos of lab work that's being done, or you know, things like that, where people can learn from each other. Because the idea with digital storytelling is to share the stories. It depends on what you are trying to achieve. I think that's the thing that you need to first look at your outcome before you can decide what the digital story should be doing. All right. Blogging, I'm sure that everybody knows what a blog is, but in its general sense, it's just a web page for personal publishing. It's a weblog, or a blog for short. It is a website that contains the writer's own experiences, observations, opinions, and often has images and links to other websites. And blogs that are aimed specifically at education are called edublogs. So within the blogging community, you will always find a niche for your subject because there will be experts who blog in that field. What makes a blog so effective is that it becomes the intellectual property of the writer, and they are able to make it unique to themselves, providing them with an online identity. So once again, it feeds into this idea of their digital footprint, of that projection of who they are, of what that image that they want to put out there, whether it be their personal, in their personal lives, or whether it be a professional image that they want to portray. Because at the end of the day, they will be joining the workforce, and this idea of the professional online identity is also important. In the world that we live in today, most of our learners are creating that unique digital footprints through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the like, and blogging feeds directly into this, especially the fact that the blogs can be linked to these other social media accounts. All right, now the last technology that I'll be introducing is podcasting. Now, podcasting basically is any audio file that can be uploaded to a platform. So you can record it on your phone, you can record it on a recording device. I actually just got my new one this morning. It's a little recording device like this that you speak into. I sometimes just put them on my desk, where I'm lecturing, and I record the entire lecture, and then just upload it onto Blackboard when I'm finished, so that the students can use it for revision purposes. There's a lovely word that's been coined which encapsulates this idea of teaching with podcasts. It's called podagogy. A lot of people are very pro the idea, and a lot of people are very anti the idea. People argue often that students don't come to class now, that there's no interaction. But 2 years ago, Fundani did a huge podcasting project, and we actually found that there is engagement with the podcast, and that students take notes while they are listening to them, which is academic engagement. And most students found that it was helpful. And we found that students still attended the lectures. So, there's a whole lot, it's this myth that surrounds the idea of podcasting that needs to be broken. So podcasting can be used in a variety of ways. You can use it either to just record your lessons, like I said I do. You can give individual feedback to students. So if you want, after a test, you could type it up, post it on Blackboard as a document that they could then download, or you could give it back as a podcast where you give feedback. Some of the lecturers who were involved with the podcasting project used podcasting, just short clips, to explain difficult concepts. So you have students that come into your class that have no background. We found it particularly with, Jonathan said he used it, with the, I think it's not the accounting students, the retail students, where they come in with no background knowledge of the subject. And there isn't time to go and discuss all the fundamental basics that need to be done, because you hit the ground running. So he would then upload podcasts and screencasts of difficult concepts that can just be explained shortly, that the students can download and listen to on their cell phones, or on their PCs, or on their laptops, or their smart devices. So it's just a handy mobile supplement to what you're doing in the class. And then, of course, to supplement academic work, extra information. Any extra information that you would like to give, that you put it on, record it, becomes an MP3 file, upload it onto Blackboard, and it's there for prosperity.